What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with the Destiny 2 weekly reset preview for the 10th of September. And so heading into this week, of course, it is the 10th anniversary of the Destiny franchise, so happy 10th anniversary I suppose. We are going to get a small in-game event, as Bungie have said, with some reveals dropping later on today ahead of the reset, so we'll talk about that. Plus Bungie will apparently discuss the future of Destiny 2, so that'll be an interesting way to kick the week off. But then there'll be the anniversary content to work through, as well as the final steps for the Echo story quest, or at least the main steps, as well as the last upgrade for the Choir of One. So we're going to cover all of that, as well as the weekly challenges, key featured modes for the week, as well as rewards, Bungie updates, and a handful of other things in the video. So I hope you find this one useful. But before we get into it, some of you guys may have heard about flavored air products, which are quickly becoming the leading alternative category to vaping or smoking, and they're led by today's sponsor, Fume, which is all about creating better habits and giving alternatives to bad habits without the toxic nicotine, flavors, vapor, or smoke. And we should say this is not a vape, it's not an electronic device, and it's backed by US doctors because it isn't addictive, which is what Fume is all about. And as someone who used to have a bad habit, I know how beneficial it can be to have something to fill the void and also to fidget with. So the Fume Solano simply draws air through a core, and that creates a mild and pleasant flavor without combustion or vapor production. My favorite is raspberry lemon, but there are absolutely loads of them available, and Fume has served over 300,000 customers. So if you want to be the next success story, for a limited time you can use code Houndish to get your free topper, which is the perfect accessory to your Fume device. Slip it into the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. It's also chewable for those who love to fidget, and it's reusable. And so if you head to tryfume.com and use code Houndish or scan the QR code on screen, you can get your free topper when you order your journey pack today. All of those links are down in the description box, and thanks to Fume for sponsoring the video. Now though, as we get into gameplay stuff for this week, of course, it is the 10th of September, or it will be when the reset drops, and so this week marks the 10th anniversary of Destiny 2. There is going to be some new content in the game as part of a sort of small event for this, and ahead of the reset later on today, Bungie will have some previews telling us about what we can expect, so keep it locked and loaded here on the channel, as there'll be more news to cover a bit later on. But when it comes to the 10th anniversary, there will be a free armor set, a new title called Legend. Of course, we can expect cosmetics in the Eververse store, and otherwise we'll have to wait and see what we get, but again, I will keep you posted. Plus, Bungie plan to deliver one of the first blog posts outlining the future of Destiny 2. Bungie were a little bit vague in terms of precisely what we're going to hear about, so I think it's worth tempering expectations, but that will be dropping a few hours after this reset video as well, so I'll be sure to keep you guys posted about it. But moving on to the Echoes content, this is going to be the very final week of main season steps for the story, so minor spoiler alert, but it looks like we'll initially head to Neomuna. Plus there'll be a step once again to destroy the Coral Mine in the exotic mission Encore as part of the core story for this week. And otherwise there are classified steps with dialogue and things like that from various characters, so kind of predictable in terms of precisely what the steps are. And of course in the Encore mission, we're going to unlock another upgrade for the Choir of One, and this week we'll get the Onslaught refit catalyst for the weapon, which is going to be a pretty juicy one. As always, we'll be able to pick up that quest from Banshee in the tower. But then getting on to the weekly challenges right here, we've got Core Variables 3 to complete Act 3 Part 3 of A Rising Chorus. This will also result in a new Nessus research quest. I think this will be the final one, Ness 09. And otherwise there is Echoing Applause to complete the episode Exotic Mission Encore on Expert difficulty. We also have Iridescent Dig to collect Iridescent Radiolite, and another to complete all Act 3 weekly challenges. And then we'll have Neptune activities, and on Neomuna we can complete bounties, patrols, public events, and lost sectors to progress. Then there is Commendation Appreciation to earn progress for giving commendations in core ritual playlists, Expedited Violence to rapidly defeat targets in Crucible, Gambit, or the Vanguard, and then there's Soul's Fire to defeat guardians with solar damage in the Crucible, and Ultimate Champion to defeat champions in any Nightfall Strike on Hero difficulty or higher. On top of that, in the Crucible, while we don't know what the playlist rotation will be, we do know that Iron Banner is set to return this week. And of course, that lasts for 2 weeks now. I think the first week is going to be Control. So if you've been wanting to make any progress in the Iron Banner for this episode, pick up the rewards or anything like that, this will be the final Iron Banner event, and it'll kick off for 2 weeks starting on Tuesday. Otherwise, all of the normal challenges and milestones will reset. That will include those on the Pale Heart. Then for the weekly Nightfall, we should see the Devil's Lair, and the featured weapon will be Wild Style. And of course, the Grandmaster node will be available, and I believe Bungie have a fix for that in a patch this week, so that node will allow the completion of all 9 Grandmaster Nightfalls. But for the weekly featured raid, initially, we've got Root of Nightmares featured, where we can pick up the conditional finality, so the exotic and the legendary loot pool will be entirely farmable while it is featured. And on top of that, for the dungeon over on the moon, Duality will be featured, where of course we can pick up the Heart Shadow, which will also be entirely farmable this week. In the Legends tab though, the exotic mission featured for the week will be Presage, where of course we can pick up the Dead Man's Tale, so if you need to work on that one, it might be useful to dive in this reset. But next, over to Eternity, and for Dares of Eternity, on top of the core loot drops, we've got Rotation 1 drops, which includes the Scatterhorn armor and Wild Hunt armor sets, as well as a bunch of weapons from Season of the Hunt, Worthy, and the odd Forsaken World drop as well. Those are random drops on activity completions. And then for the featured Lost Sectors this week, for Tuesday, initially, we'll get the Forgotten Deep on the Pale Heart featured, and the legendary weapon pool will consist of Crux Termination, Nox Perennial, PSI Hamatic, and the Rossarago. Then from September 11th, we'll see Perdition on Europa, that can drop the combined action, Last Foray, Parabellum, and Old Sterling. September 12th will be Bunker E15 on Europa, which can drop the Geodetic HSM, Glissando 47, Heliocentric, and the Mikado 45. From there, the legendary pool just rotates, but September 13th will be Concealed Void on Europa, the 14th will be the Conflux on Nessus, then on September 15th it'll be Thrillerdrome on Neomuna, and finally Hydroponics Delta on Neomuna from September 16th. Otherwise, our only other mention is for the Ascendant Challenge, and this week we'll get the Shattered Ruins, which can be found via the Spine of Keres in the Dreaming City, so pretty easy to find, but if you want the location and collectibles for that one, we'll run some footage at the end of the video. For today though guys, that is what we have to speak about in this one. As always, I'll be keeping you posted though. We get news updates later today, so get subscribed and turn on notifications, and I'll hit you up with that when we know the details. Another shout out to our sponsor Fume. If that's something you're interested in, you can check out the information for that in the link down below. Otherwise though, thanks as always for tuning in. Let us know if you plan to do anything with the weekly reset this week. And otherwise, I hope you guys have an awesome day.